bad o'clock. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Some of the public that just walked in, if you do want to ask a question, please write a card out for me, and I will get that. For the record, this is a public meeting, emergency public meeting of the Bayonne Board of Education. It is 5:16 p.m., the 10th day of June. We're convening in the Anna J. Herbert Meeting Room. The presiding officer is Joseph Broderick, President of the Bayonne Board of Education. Those in attendance include Dr. Michael A. Wanko, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Gary Maida, Board Secretary, and Mr. Mitchell Pasquale, Esquire, our Board Counsel. The meeting's open to the public. I will take a roll call. Trustee Alonso.
Present.
Trustee Cassius is absent. Trustee Cruden.
Present.
Trustee Finnerty.
Present.
Trustee Munoz.
Here.
Trustee Ryan.
Here.
Trustee Villado.
Here.
Vice President Wilbeck.
Here.
President Broderick.
Here.
Mr. President, if you would read that.
Sure. For the record, adequate written advance notice of at least 48 hours giving the time, date, and location of this meeting with the agenda was provided as follows. Notice was prominently posted in City Hall at 630 Avenue C on a bulletin board reserved for such announcements of the Board of Education. The Board Secretary sent such notice to the Jersey Journal. Notice was filed with the Municipal Clerk of the City of Bayonne, Mr. Robert F. Sloan.
At this time, I'd ask you our agenda this evening. Our first item is appointment of superintendent. I do have two questions from the audience. Mr. Anthony D'Amico, 73 West 6th Street. Anthony, if you'd like to get to the microphone.
Couldn't he be after the votes?
Anthony D'Amico, 73 West 6th Street. Just the whole process, going back, look back on meetings and stuff, and I brought up back in July of 17 about the status of the search. Back then, it was told that it was waiting for the audit to be seen so we could see where we're at financially. Obviously, I've asked repeatedly at other meetings, like in December of 2018. Again, a statement I got was not granting any more with their interim, so that it was starting then. So that means a whole year, basically, went by without doing anything. As a Board of Ed, I figured that we were going to try to be proactive. Seems like that hasn't happened. The issue that I have is last meeting, President Broderick said he didn't know we had a deadline. But if you look back to January 30th, 2019 meeting, when they had the workshop beforehand with the Search Council, they said April 1st is the date that they were trying to get a candidate in for approval. So they laid out the dates. The fact that you didn't know the dates is alarming and disturbing. And now we're put into this position where you have an emergency meeting because apparently there's an issue with getting all 5 votes. So this kind of goes back to playing politics on the board with bringing another conflicted member back instead of looking and being progressive and bringing back a non-conflicted member, which had the experience, which was apparently the deciding factor, so that we weren't put into this position. So just wondering, like, are we going to get any leadership on this board to where we're going to be proactive instead of reactive? We're going to get that anytime soon? Because this is just an embarrassing situation that we're in.
Mr. DeBigo, we appreciate your comments, but that's about it. We're not going to be answering any questions, but if that is what you have as your comment, I think the board is on record of the process and what we followed to get to where we are today. Next question up is Mr. Joe Wyatt, 301 Maple Avenue, 261 North Plainfield.
Well, I guess it's pointless to ask a question if you're not going to answer anything.
Well, he didn't answer. Well, go ahead.
Well, I want to know why is it, apparently the sticking point is that none of the candidates that you have now are from Hudson County and have a cultural know-how. And I have argued in other places at length, ad nauseum, that that's what you don't want to have. You need somebody coming in that is not politically motivated. I've come to the conclusion that the raising of the money to fund the school system is definitely a political animal. But the delivery of education to our children cannot be that. And since the superintendent is the academic leader, basically, then we've gotten into big trouble. This is a terrible place to work because of the political mishmash that goes on, that has gone on for 17 or 18 or 19 years. It has to stop. And the only hope you have is to get somebody who is not connected to Bayonne in any particular way. I have also made the argument that in order to assist that person, that you should retain Dr. Wanko so that the person who's there, he's got to make a hard decision. He can call Dr. Wanko and says, what's going to happen if I do this? So that I just go in with my eyes open. So, I have a whole nother argument, but I guess you're not open to hearing it because you seem to be stuck. I can't understand why you're stuck there. You should be glad you've got candidates. Oh, and by the way, I was the only teacher to show up at the high school when the search firm, and I gave them an earful. I gave them all of the letters that I gave you. And I have students that they met. Some of my students told me that they met with met with some of the students, and the students told them, get somebody from out of this district. What is the problem? It's very clear what the problem is. The solution is clear. You've got a couple of candidates that can be. Let's make a decision and see what happens. You cannot predict the future. You can write the contract. You must be able to write the contract with a year's probation or something like, give them a 3-year contract with probation so that if they turn out to be a real jerk, you can get rid of them. But you've got to make a decision. We've lived with financial insecurity ever since I've been here, and now we're living with leadership insecurity. You can't run a school district. We can't educate children in those conditions.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Wyatt. I will read the resolution into the record. Whereas the Bayonne Board of Education desires to employ C. Attachment as its superintendent of schools, whereas C. Attachment has agreed to accept such employment as the Bayonne Board of Education Superintendent of Schools, whereas the interim executive county superintendent of schools for Hudson County has reviewed a superintendent employment agreement between the Bayonne Board of Education and C. Attachment. Now therefore be it resolved that based upon approval of the superintendent's employment agreement, that the Bayonne Board of Education enter into a contract for a term of 3 years, subject to the terms and conditions of the superintendent employment agreement. Be it further resolved that the board president, board attorney, and board secretary are authorized and directed to send the superintendent employment agreement to the interim executive county superintendent for schools for Hudson County on behalf of the Bayonne Board of Education. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
So I have a motion by President Broderick. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And I have a second by Trustee Cruden. So on that motion and second, Trustee Alonso,
Yes.
Trustee Cruden,
Yes.
Trustee Munoz,
Yes.
Trustee Villado,
Yes.
President Broderick,
Yes.
Trustee Cassius is absent, Trustee Finnerty,
Abstain.
Trustee Ryan,
Abstain.
Vice President Wilbeck.
Abstain.
At this time, the resolution passes, but I would rather read into the record a corrected resolution and switch that out. Whereas the Bayonne Board of Education desires to employ John J. Neese as its superintendent of schools, whereas John J. Neese has agreed to accept such employment as the Bayonne Board of Education Superintendent of Schools. And the rest of the language is exactly like the other resolution. At that time, we have a second resolution which will be tabled for this evening, and that is the question of interim superintendent. So that's being tabled to our June 20th meeting. At this time, I will take a motion to adjourn.
All motion.
Motion by trustee Cruden, second by trustee Villado. On that motion and second, trustee Alonso.
Yes.
Trustee Cassius is absent. Trustee Cruden.
Yes.
Trustee Finnerty.
Yes.
Trustee Munoz.
Yes.
Trustee Ryan.
Yes.
Trustee Villado.
Yes.
Vice President Wilbeck.
Yes.
President Broderick.
Yes.
It is 5:26. Thank you. The board will not return.